Yahoo! It's Beth! I'm an American who wears kimono every day to almost everywhere with more than 100 kimono. I speak 5 languages and I grew up mostly in Japan, recently moved to Germany to live with my German boyfriend. In this series, I'll show you my kimono, but also the cultural meanings and fun facts behind the kimono. First, let's appreciate the kimono and check out the stats. The focus today will be the most contradicting flower in Japan, which is Hydrangea or Ajisai in Japanese, as shown on my yukata. Yukata is a casual summer form of kimono in single layer and traditionally made of hemp or cotton. This one is cotton. Many centuries ago, yukata used to be underwear or bathrobes, but I'll talk about this in another video. If you also love fountain pens like me, you would know the word Ajisai from this famous line of fountain pen inks. Sponsor me. Not gonna lie, I don't know much about plants, but this flower has the most contradicting, convoluted stories and meanings that I've ever heard. Some Japanese, including myself, thought that Ajisai is a foreign species, but no, it's native to Japan. The native kind has a ring of flower like this, but now the pom-pom looking ones crossbred by Europeans are more common. Ajisai that blooms from June to July is a symbol of summer, but also Tsuyu, which is the season that rains a lot depending on where you are in Japan, making these creatures to spawn everywhere, even in the middle of street in Germany. When we compose a haiku in Japanese, we must include a seasonal word in the first line. If you use Ajisai as a seasonal word, it will signal June, making Japanese to think about rain, umbrella, and snails. The appreciation for this flower dates back to as early as the 8th century in the Nara period, cited in the earliest collection of poems called Manyoshu. One of the theories explaining the origin of the name Ajisai is that it phonetically referred to a collection of true blue. So Ajisai is one of those Japanese words that has a very different pronunciation from what is written. Ajisai's kanji were borrowed from the poem 紫阳花诗, written by a famous Chinese poet Bai Juyi in the 700s. As a Chinese speaker, 紫阳花 literally means purple, sun, and flower. It's not sunflower, but as of today, not even the Chinese know exactly what Mr. Bai was referring to in his poem because he made that name up. Nani? So the Japanese borrow the wrong characters from China. In China, the ancient word for hydrangea was 八仙花, meaning the flower of 8 immortals, which the Japanese later also adapted called hasenka. And to clarify, Ajisai came from Japan to China through Silk Road. So Ajisai is a flower that came from Japan, but is commonly referred to by a fictional Chinese name, and it's commonly known more for its European breed. I'm American with parents from Hong Kong and Taiwan, and I grew up mostly in Japan and have now lived in Europe much longer. My third culture background kind of relate to this flower. Anyways, I diverged. How much do the Japanese love Ajisai? It's a popular flower voted by many Japanese across the island to represent their city, such as Kobe, where Kobe beef came from. The 6th of June is known as the Day of Ajisai or Ajisai no Hi for its mayoke no property, which can cast evil away. It was said that people hung up Ajisai on the days with the number 6 in it, so the 6th of June became the day of Ajisai. Naturally, there's a Japanese word for Buddhist temples that have full of these flowers in the yards, called Ajisai Dera or Ajisai Temple. Ajisai that changes color is a good representation of impermanence, which is an important theme in Buddhism. The number 4 in Japanese sounds like death, And because Ajisai has 4 calyx, it was associated with death and used for funeral. The part you think it's the flower or the petal is not actually the petal, but the calyx. The flowers are the tiny little buds in the center. What a trickster. So guess what? Because of this 4 calyx structure, the Japanese also has another name for Ajisai called yohira, written in 2 ways, which just means 4 sheets. However, modern sensibility in Japan has now changed. Ajisai is poisonous, and now that poisonous plants and flowers are considered a faux pas at funeral, there are new occasions for this flower, which I'll explain in a bit. By the way, the naming variation doesn't end here. Ajisai are also called temaribana for its resemblance to this ancient toy here. Temaribana means handball flower, and yes, this shinobi from Naruto was named after this toy. The other less elegant name for Ajisai would be mataburi gusa, aka toilet paper in some regions, implying that people used to use the leaf of Ajisai as toilet paper. Finally, because Ajisai changes color depending on the acidity in the soil, it's also called Hydrangea, or 7 changes, which I think is the most befitting name. Ajisai turns blue when the soil is acidic, purple when it's relatively more neutral in pH, and red when it's truly neutral with a pH of 7 or above. In Japan, there are many volcanoes making the soil acidic, so many Japanese, including myself, will picture a blue Ajisai, hence a collection of true blue. The second most common one will be purple. I'm in Germany. The Ajisai near my apartment is white. Even the native Japanese one here are white. Unfortunately, white ones won't change color even if I add lemon juice to the soil. I guess I really miss Japan, and I'm a blue supremacist in case you didn't know. Tell me which country you're from and which color of hydrangea comes into mind when you hear the word hydrangea. Since Ajisai has so many colors, it matters which color you're giving as a gift. This flower shop in Japan has a guide that tells us which color represents what and for what occasion. The standard blue ones are known for shinbo tsuyoi aijo, meaning a strong patient love and a great gift for men. A love story is coming up in a bit. Pink or red one symbolizes an energetic woman, and it's now a great choice for Mother's Day, but also a great gift for women. White is good for generic purpose. Purple symbolizes elegance, respect, but most importantly, a suitable gift for your mother-in-law. How specific. It's also great for someone with a higher social status than you, like your senpai. Green is again for ichizuna aijo, or hitamukina aijo, meaning a love so strong that you would never look at or consider another person. And I guess green ones are rarer, so it represents creativity. While I keep saying how much the Japanese love Ajisai, there is an exception. The samurai class didn't like it. Ajisai is a flower that grows very easily, even without a lot of sunshine, kind of like grass. And so the gardeners back in Edo period didn't bother to grow them for selling. On top of that, the samurai class was the ruling class in Japan for a few centuries. So until the end of Edo period, Ajisai wasn't that popular. Flower shops are biased, and so they only tell us the positive, good connotation and meanings of Ajisai to sell their flowers. Remember from earlier that Ajisai are also called 7 changes, and it's a symbol of impermanence in the Buddhist view. To some, this is a flower that symbolizes cheating or the changing of heart. The samurai ethics were based on unchanging loyalty, so you can see how this flower is a no-no. There's actually a love story that explains why Ajisai is associated with dedicated love. During the xenophobic lockdown of the Sakoku period that made Japan great again, a German doctor called Philip Siebold kind of pretended as the Dutch to enter Japan in 1823 to do research. The Dutch were the only foreigners during the Sakoku period that could trade and enter Japan. Here's Mr. Siebold printed on a Japanese stamp in 1996 for his contribution in botanical findings, probably only remembered by Japanese who are into plants and gardening these days. Mr. Siebold was so in love with his Japanese lover Kusumoto Taki, or affectionately known as Otaki or Otaksa by Mr. Siebold, well, this lady with badass smirk, that Mr. Siebold submitted Hydrangea otaksa as a scientific name for the new type of flower he found in Japan. Unfortunately, he lost his naming right to another dude who came to Japan decades before he did and named the flower Hydrangea macrophylla. Nevertheless, badass mom gave birth to badass daughter, who later became the first female doctor of Western medicine in Japan. Back to the popularity of Ajisai. So the current level of popularity for Ajisai is probably at its highest in history, and it was all thanks to Europeans crossbreeding them. Remember that most Ajisai in Japan are blue or purple? When the Europeans brought them back and started growing them, they became red because the soil was more alkaline in Europe. The British loved it so much that they later exported their pom-pom breeds back to Japan in Meiji period, and this made Ajisai super popular in Japan. By living abroad, Ajisai had a glow up and has now become the top choice for Mother's Day and a common motif on yukata in summer. This is why many Japanese, including myself, thought that Ajisai is foreign or came from Europe. The last cultural meaning I want to talk about is that Ajisai is also used as a person's name for both genders. Now you know why Ajisai from Naruto has to come from the Amegakure clan or the rain-hiding clan. Since Ajisai's kanji is too convoluted and having more than 3 syllables is too long for a name in modern Japan, most Japanese would use a shortened form inspired by Ajisai as a name. For example, there's shioka in hiragana or the full kanji for both male and female. Then there's haruka, meaning sun and flower for female, and shino, which means purple, also for female. Just bear in mind that these names also use different kanji, and if it's a different kanji, it would carry a different meaning. I hope by now you understand why I called Ajisai as the most contradicting flower in Japan. Not only does it come in so many colors and names, it is the flower that represents both a sincere love and a change of heart. It is also a flower that brings good luck on a good day and bad luck at a funeral. Please like and subscribe if you want to see another essay about Japanese culture and kimono. Bye!